Culture is understood in a variety of ways, but to experience it requires a perfect blend. This week on DV, Des explores the world of Cantonese opera. Holding a special place in the heart of Hong Kong's colourful history, it's been constantly adapting to generations of audiences. Journeying around town to discover the many efforts behind keeping this iconic Hong Kong cultural performance art alive, we are in for a treat. Let's start in Tsim Sha Tsui and check in with Des.
When it comes to live music, Hong Kong has a lot to offer. You have jazz clubs, you have canto pop concerts, and you have lots of visiting acts that come through the city every year. Now, if I were to say Cantonese opera, you'd say, wait, you can watch that live? Or at least it's not the first form of live entertainment you think of. But did you know that when it comes to live entertainment here in Hong Kong, Cantonese opera has the longest history? And thankfully for us, there's a bunch of enthusiasts who have taken this art form, have added new elements to it, and are trying not only to preserve it, but also promote it to a wider audience. Let's go learn more. Can you tell us about the key elements of Cantonese opera?
中國戲曲係一種特別嘅藝術，而且包含全國每個省份都有。而廣東省咧亦都有戲曲，所以我哋嘅戲曲咧同中國任何戲曲嘅分別都唔大嘅，都係一種係文化嘅薈萃。
Cantonese opera is an offshoot of Chinese opera, and Chinese opera is all-encompassing for the country, and it's in every province, every area. So although Cantonese opera has its own distinctive elements, it still shares a lot of the common elements of Chinese opera. Now, is there anything you can introduce about Cantonese opera? What are the things they should be looking out for?
我哋戲曲咧就歸納咗係叫做四功五法。四功咧就係唱、念、做、打。唱咧就係唱歌啦，念就係念白，念白好多種喎。做就我哋嘅做功，舉手投足啊，打就學好多嘅舞蹈形式嘅嘢。咁手眼身步法，呢個係四功五法。
Now, Gang said that to be a good Cantonese opera performer, you really need to master a lot of things. But the things there that are called 4 fundamentals and 5 methods, okay? So let's talk about 4 fundamentals first. The 4 fundamentals are singing, delivering the dialogue in a proper way, and then there's a general encompassing of doing the thing, and really that's emoting, being able to show your emotions, show the audience emotions. And then of course the core element is the martial arts part of Cantonese opera. For those of you who've watched it before, there's a lot of very exciting movements and martial arts. And then we move on to the 5 methods. Now, I'm not going to go into each of the methods. I'll just say what the 5 methods are. It's your hands, your eyes, your body, your step, and then this more kind of intangible law or method that encompasses all of these things. Now, for someone who really wants to take more of an interest in Cantonese opera, get into it, maybe learn something before they go and watch it, what advice do you have for them?
首先咧，我要將粵劇嘅定位定喺一個邊個位置。全世界咁多嘅娛樂事，點解要保存粵劇？因為佢又有地方性嘅色彩。同時，你睇粵劇係睇一啲古典嘅故事，要熟悉中國嘅詩詞歌賦，熟悉中國嘅歷史，我哋睇粵劇咧，先至越睇越有味道。如果你唔識嘅話，冇涉獵嘅話，咁樣你咧去睇粵劇咧，你只不過係睇佢哋嘅化妝啊、服裝啊、一種唱啊，就係咁多嘢。
So he said that if someone really wants to take Cantonese opera seriously, the first thing you need to do is to brush up on Chinese history. Because you would be missing a lot if you didn't understand Chinese history, because you wouldn't understand a lot of the stories or the themes behind these performances. Then if you go, you would really just be kind of absorbing the makeup and the action and the music, which isn't bad, but you would be missing a large part of the story. Christy, my first question to you is there are lots of nuances when it comes to Cantonese opera. What are the hardest things about it? Is it the macro things, understanding the story or the history, or is it the micro things like the hand movements or where you're supposed to stand?
I think it's absolutely the small things that matters the most. These movements, it takes a lot of time to practice and to master.
Give us an example of that.
When we learn our movements, we might have some very generalized concept of it, or it's actually like the most basic forms we know about it.
Yep.
But then you figure out, like especially when you look at teaching opera as well, or other types of performing art around in China, you suddenly figure out it's not that basic, it's not only one standard.
As I understand it, traditional Cantonese opera, the sets are relatively simple, is that right? Because I know for this show you guys do have a more stylized background with an LED wall and stuff.
That's a very main point of our art form. Over the years, we have more and more backdrops, and nowadays, especially for example in this show, we use the LED back wall, so it gives people more sense of like modernized theater.
The seating that we see downstairs, the table with the two chairs, that also has something to do with your art form, is that right?
Yes, I think the concept is from these traditional, like not much backdrop kind of setting. So we always say that one table and two chairs, it represents everything. How we put it on stage, it could represent a bridge, it could represent a mountain, it could represent a castle. That's how this one table, two chairs thing came from.
I want to dig a little bit deeper into the technical skills now. You hear so much about the hand movements, the hand gestures.
A lot of our movements are kind of, this distinguishes the character. So basically, first, the most basic is the male character and the female character.
Okay.
So for female characters, we have a more dainty, like we have to show the more dainty side of these characters. So their hands are probably like that.
Okay, let me see if I can get this right. So a middle finger and thumb.
And you have to put power and energy into your fingertips as well.
Okay. But it's weird because you tell me to put power, but then I have to, these look pretty relaxed.
It looks relaxed, but actually you could feel it. And for palms, it's like that.
Now, what's palms mean?
This is the female way of how they put their.
I don't even think I can do that physically, Christy.
You have
I'm
to push
having
your
trouble.
thumb like in the middle here. Yeah. So yeah, around that. For male characters, maybe like more people who have some martial art skills. For like example, warriors or like generals, war generals. We have this sword finger.
Ooh, sword finger.
Yes. So we have to put even more energy because we're kind of a more stiff character. So that's. Yeah. So we still have to have a little curve. Yeah. So that's
Clearly
why we
no
have
curve.
to still warm right for that.
Is it common in the storylines for a female to be playing the male role? When would the male play the male role, and then when would they have a female play the male role?
This actually depends on each production. There are a lot of like these traditional taboos in Chinese culture, so that some gods can only be played by real male actors.
Oh.
Yes. So other than that, you could choose according to yourself or the producer or the director.
Okay, so it's not dependent on the storyline.
Not really.
Unless there was, like you said, mentioned that God exception.
Yeah.
So traditionally, as I understand it, there are 4 main roles in Cantonese opera. Tell us about those.
Sure. So the way we categorize all these kind of different characters, we categorize them into 4 main roles. So it's the female character, the male character, the character with painted faces, and the comical character. The painted faces, of course, we all have painted faces on stage. You see these kind of painted faces with more colors instead of only the main white, red, and black. These are categorized into the painted faces characters. Mostly because of the storyline and the liking of the audience, only the male characters and the female characters are seen as the main cast.
Yep.
For Cantonese opera in Hong Kong, most people only see the male and female characters as the main characters. But that's a little unfair, actually. It's based on the storyline itself. The 4th one is the characters with doing comical relief. So we sometimes categorize as the Joker.
Oh, sure. So that's just like the jester in European theater.
Yes.
There's an interesting term that I certainly would like to know more about. And is this fan tune? What does that mean? Because that's a term, again, that you would often hear when talking about Cantonese opera.
So basically that is a male actor acting as the female character on stage, or a female actress acting as a male character on stage. For example, I'm a female actress, but I only act as male roles on stage. So that's what we call 反串.
Well, thank you so much. I learned so much. It's absolutely fascinating what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.